Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV, and Board Game today. I'm Brett. We're doing a cross post for both sites. This comic really has a lot to do with both of them. It's the comic adaptation of Gloomhaven, the really popular board game. Now, I'm going to outright say right away that I have not played Gloomhaven. I know it's very popular and well-liked and well-received, and from friends who have played it, they've all enjoyed it as well. I just don't really have the time commitment right now to dive into something like that. But, you know, you never know. It's one of those, as if someone ever reached out and wanted to have me give it a shot, I'd be up for it. But, you know, there's so much to play, you gotta pick and choose. But again, so Gloomhaven, very popular board game. My understanding is it's kind of a legacy game, dungeon crawler in many ways. You know, characters kind of go through the game, getting better, all that stuff like that. Classic kind of dungeon crawler. That is my general understanding of it. I haven't played it myself. Again, friends love it or really enjoy it. So I've still been kind of interested to see what the adaptation for the game to comics is like. You know, it's always interesting to see various properties come from their things to comics. Dungeons & Dragons has done some stuff. A bunch of common games have been turned into comics. There's actually a lot out there. It's becoming a much more popular IP, place to get IP and stories for comics. So I wanted to dive in. I wanted to read it, and generally I was fairly underwhelmed by the comic. You know, in the end, to me, something like this makes me either want to read more comics, then it's a win, or go check out the game, which it doesn't really do either of those things. You know, yeah, I kind of want to check out the game, but this doesn't really sell me saying, oh my god, I gotta go get it. So what the story is about a bunch of adventurers that kind of recount some history, a recent job that has gone completely sideways due to one of their members, and in doing it from a bar. It's something that we've seen many times before, kind of a very, you know, typical setup, stereotypical setup. Like, there's not much that feels very new about this, which is disappointing because there's actually a lot that could be very new about this. So the comic itself is published by SourcePoint Press. The Gloomhaven is created by Isaac Childres. The comic's written by Travis Mcintire, art by Tyler Sowles, letters by Justin Birch. And as I said, this story is just about a bunch of adventurers who are kind of retelling the story of a recent job that's gone south in this fantasy city, I guess called Gloomhaven. And in the end, it's kind of boring. There's nothing that feels very new about it. The characters aren't introduced well. Their personalities don't really stand out a ton. You know, there's little things here and there that I really liked and wish there was more of that I think would have made a much stronger comic that would have been really, really interesting. Just some suggestions of directions I would love to see is I would actually love to see a comic that more mirrors the game itself and in some ways has some of the game mechanics within. I actually think that would have been really, really interesting and almost would work as not quite an intro to the game, but at least give some hints as to how the game plays. In this, I've got no connection to one or the other. At least with like the Dungeons & Dragons comics, I get a lot of background on the world, the history, the characters. It feels like an extension of a game master telling a story. In this, since it's a board game, I don't really get any sense of either connection to the world or the game itself. It doesn't really do much in either of those ways. And I think part of that problem is just does this very stereotypical storytelling of a group of adventurers around a table recounting their tales. You know, the characters themselves all seem interesting. Their designs are definitely, you know, kind of piqued my interest, but at the same time, like, their depiction, nothing feels all that special. You know, you got one character who kind of looks like a warrior vampire knight, but doesn't really show anything that like would give me an indication like that. He just looks kind of cool. You know, you got a guy with a hat on that looks like he's some sort of like Western outlaw, but at the same time there's like nothing that really draws me into, is like tells me what he is. The only thing I've kind of figured out was there's like seems to be like a half light elf, dark elf character-ish, but like nothing's explained about that character. And then there's like some big bad guy who is watching these adventurers, I don't really freaking know why, who is all made of insects. Again, really cool concept, really cool art, but there's no reason like why he's doing this, talking to the outcast member. Like, it doesn't feel at any point that there is anything ominous going on, that he's about to go like jack them up or like going to attack them. It's just like this weird meta commentary or whatever, someone looking in. It's odd. Like, all of it's really, really odd in how it's depicted, and opportunities to, I think, really expand upon the world or tell about these characters and give a little bit more interesting stuff just doesn't. It's never quite grasped or taken by any of the creators, which is really frustrating. The art is okay. It's not bad. It's not great. It just kind of is. As you can say, like, it's just a bunch of people around the table and talking, like, for a good chunk of the comic, and then the little action that there is, like, isn't all that special. This is kind of one of their dungeon runs, and it shifts, and there's some violence, and like, that's about it. There's nothing exciting concerning it. I think part of the other issue is that the art doesn't shift between these, like, stories of the past and the present enough to, like, really give an interesting transition. So, I mean, to me, this is just kind of a disappointing comic. Like, I don't know if someone who's played Gloomhaven would enjoy this more than I have. But for me, as someone who hasn't played the game and doesn't know the world, the characters, it seems like a very generic fantasy world, very generic, boring game to me. Like, this just doesn't, I think, do justice to the world. It doesn't do justice to the board game and the mechanics. At least with, like, the Dungeons & Dragons comic is a story of the world and an extension of, like, background that you might read in those books. This doesn't feel like an extension at all. It just feels like a weird one-shot comic that has a fantasy setting that's, in the end, very generic. And there's just a lot of hints and dancing around stuff, but never really kind of commits to, I think, going deep into the world and really making a case for the comic or the game itself. So overall, I think a little bummed on this one. I was really hoping for something interesting, new and different, but didn't quite pull it off. So this is in the comic shops now. You can go get it. We got some links beneath this video. You can put it in. One link will help you find a comic shop. You put in your zip code, tell if a shop's near you, no shop, no problem. We have affiliate links as well. They're affiliate links. We get a small percentage of that by doing that. You help support our site, so thank you. And I want to thank SourcePoint Press for hooking us up with a digital review copy. Appreciate that. It's a review that digitally already. I just wanted to also do kind of a physical review. I ordered this because I was really excited for it. But, paid out of my own money for that. Whatever. It's all good. And, of course, I want to thank you all for watching this video. Much appreciated. Now, if you are into comics, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy. If you're into board games, check us out at boardgametoday.com. We're on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and Facebook, all at Board Game Today. You can go find us there. There's, of course, also links underneath this video where you can get all that info. As always, really, really appreciated. Until next time, keep playing those games and keep reading those comics. Hey, thanks for watching Board Game Today. We always appreciate your views and your support, but there are so many ways for you to support our site. Not only can you do it right here on video, but you can go and check us out at boardgametoday.com, where we have more news, reviews, interviews, everything you could ever want. But since you're here, if you can always give us a like, subscribe, or share our videos or watch something else. As always, much appreciated, and get your game on.